Good evening and welcome, everybody. I am Senator Sean Ryan. I'm the co-chair of the Economic Development Subcommittee. I'm honored to co-chair this committee with my colleague, Assemblymember Harry Bronson. I want to take this opportunity to introduce members of the subcommittee. From the Senate side, we have Senator Joe Addabbo, Senator James Sanders, Senator Andrew Gennardis, Senator Jeremy Cooney, Senator George Borrello, and Senator Dean Murray. I want to turn it over to my co-chair, Assemblymember Harry Bronson.
Thank you, Senator Ryan, and welcome everyone. Happy to have you here with us. I'd like to introduce my members. We have Chair of Racing and Wagering, Gary Pretlow, Chair of Small Business Committee, Al Sturpey, Chair of Technology, Stephen Otis. Our alternatives are Dana Levenberg and George Alvarez. And in the minority, we have our ranker of Economic Development, Chris Friend, and also as an alternate, Jeff Callahan.
So as part of this process, the Senate and the Assembly both have to designate a recording secretary for the purposes of taking minutes of this meeting, and the Senate designates Sarah Lesser to be the recording secretary.
And in the Assembly, as our recording secretary, we designate Deborah Jenkins.
Now, several parts of government came together through this committee. Department of Economic Development, which is Empire State Development, the Urban Development Corporation, the Division of Tax Appeals, the Department of Taxation and Finance, the New York State Gaming Commission. And I'm proud that the Senate One House includes increased fundings for the Centers of Excellence, the Centers for Advanced Technology. We advanced proposals on various minority and women-owned business programs, and proposes a variety of initiatives to encourage development of small businesses and businesses throughout the state. Looking forward to working and continue to work with my colleagues towards a final budget that prioritizes proven methods of economic development, like workforce development and other programs that provide opportunities to regular New Yorkers to help put more money in their pockets. Assemblymember Bronson.
Yes, we are anxious to have discussions at this committee table. It's important for us to keep in mind some of the overarching objectives that we have in the Assembly when it comes to economic development, and that is that you cannot have economic development that's effective and helpful to our families unless you have corresponding workforce development programs. In line with that, we also have to make sure that New York State does not make the same mistake as we did after the Great Recession, and so that post-COVID, we must make sure that our program development and our policies, as well as our investments, are the type of things that will move us closer to a more equitable and inclusive economy, making sure that we have folks who have come from marginalized communities and have been on the sidelines of the economy for far too long are involved in our post-COVID economy. Some of our approaches include making sure that we fully fund and adequately fund our centers of advanced technology and centers of excellence. These are innovation hubs that lead to emerging industries, making sure that our MWBE development and lending program is adequately funded, making sure, like I said earlier, that workforce development and our grant program in that area is adequately funded, and also so that we have grants for small businesses, some or many of whom are still recovering from the impact of COVID. And then lastly, on capital funding, that we restore the funding for Restore New York Communities initiative, as well as the shovel-ready projects. These are some of the things that we're going to highlight in the Assembly budget negotiations, and we're hopeful that we can come to agreement with the Senate and the governor on those issues.
Thank you, Assemblymember Bronson, for the work that you've done so far. We'd like to hear from the ranking minority member on the committee from the Senate side, which is Senator Borrello.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I agree economic development is certainly critical, but it shouldn't just be about giving tax incentives to a select few. It should be about improving the environment for all businesses, and that's where New York State is sorely lacking. We are continually rated as one of the worst, if not the worst places to do business in New York State. I know this firsthand as being a business owner in New York State. We need to uplift all businesses. We need to relieve the burdens that we put on our local businesses. New York State leads the nation in outmigration. This is largely because we have created a poor environment, not only for businesses, but for families. We need to correct that. But one of the biggest and most egregious things that have been ignored in the governor's budget is the $8 billion unemployment insurance deficit that continues to be ignored. It was created largely, quite frankly, by bad policy of New York State and an inept Department of Labor. Fraud, over $11 billion that could be identified as fraud. And as a business owner, I can tell you, we are all, every single one of us, are going to pay an additional $200 per employee per year, every year, for likely another decade to make up for the bad policies of New York State. This needs to be a priority, and I hope in this final budget we will finally address that and reduce the burdens on New York's businesses that are truly the backbone of our economy, New York State's small business. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Borrello. Look forward to working with you towards some of the goals you outlined. Assemblymember Bronson.
Yes, first of all, I agree with the senator on the unemployment insurance. We have to do something for small businesses. I'm a small business owner myself, and I fully appreciate that. However, that's not at this conference subcommittee. That will be at the labor subcommittee table. With that, I would like to introduce our ranking member of the Assembly's Committee on Economic Development, Chris Friend.
Thank you, Chairs Bronson and Ryan, for allowing me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Assembly Minority Conference. As we embark on the budget negotiation process, I hope that a five-way discussion is possible as we move forward so that the views of all New Yorkers are represented at the table. These budget conference committees provide the public with necessary budget transparency that we have always been supportive of on the Minority Conference. New York's small businesses continue to battle unparalleled and unique challenges due to the pandemic and corresponding economic trials. 54% of upstate New York CEOs say businesses' conditions have worsened over the last year, and only 19% expect improvement in the coming year, according to the 16th Annual Upstate New York Business Leader Survey from Siena College Research Institute. As has been previously mentioned, U.S. Census data shows that New York had the largest decline in its population, losing almost 300,000 people to other states due to outmigration. Rather than picking winners and losers, the state's economic development policy should be focused on smart investments that improve the local economic climate. And the goal must be overall economic growth, not the mere shifting of activity and jobs from one area to another. And I think an area that shows just exactly how we can do this, a few years ago, or just last year, we actually passed the marijuana cannabis control project to allow the sale of cannabis. And from our New York City mayor, he has declared that there are over 1,500 cannabis stores operating in New York City. Just about every week when I go home, there's a new shop that opens up selling cannabis or edibles. I see shops that used to sell sandwiches and hoagies that have converted to selling strictly cannabis and edibles. And why is this? Well, it's strictly because there are no regulations at this point. There is nothing to shut them down. The Office of Cannabis Management refuses to come in and shut them down. When the DA's, the sheriff's office tries to do anything to shut down these illegal operations and raids them, they're back up and operating the next day. And why is that? Well, one of the things is the regulations. And our state has some of the most burdensome regulations in the country. New York State businesses are facing unprecedented challenges for regulations, and in the Assembly Minority Conference, we sponsor Assembly Bill 83552, the Red Tape Reduction Act. This proposal would require that when a rule is adopted that imposes a new administrative burden on a business, one or more existing rules would be amended and repealed to offset the cost of that new burden. And I think that these illegal cannabis stores clearly demonstrate that when the regulations are removed, that the businesses can thrive and will keep people in this state. Even though it's not part of this committee, I also want to tip my hat to the unemployment insurance. On top of all the regulations, unemployment insurance is a steep, unexpected, and completely avoidable cost. New York State has wasted the opportunity to pay down this UI debt with federal funding. And again, the Minority Conference sponsors a 2982 to suspend employer contributions to the interest assessment surcharge fund until December 31st, 2024, and shift this cost back to the state. These small businesses did not have the opportunity to stay open. They did not have the choice to stay open. They could not do anything through any kind of distance selling. Only the big box stores and the liquor stores were allowed that opportunity, and we should give that opportunity to stay and compete in the state to our small businesses. Anything we can do to support that effort, we should be doing. I'm confident that we can enact an on-time state budget that is open, transparent, includes all 5 conferences in that negotiation, and I hope we're able to do this again on time. Thank you for allowing me to share my comments.
Thank you, Assemblymember Friend. Anyone from the Senate side have any additional comments? Senator Sanders. You're hot.
Well,
And your mic is on too.
if you say so, sir. First, I want to thank all of the people who are using their time and effort here, all of my colleagues. This is going to be a very important thing, and I urge us not to lose sight of the blessing that we have to serve the people of New York and to gather together. It is a blessing that each of us should cherish, that we have a chance. I encourage everyone to listen to the words that everyone has said, that these previous statements that people have made have some kernels of truth in there that we are going to have to grapple with any way we go about this. You see, a budget is a statement of what are the values of New York. Your values are expressed in the dollars, where your dollars go. It's saying, you could say whatever you wish, but if you don't back it up with money, then it says you didn't value it. And this budget must reflect a lot of important things. It has to reflect that we understand that there is poverty in different areas and we need to do something about it. It understands that there is opportunity in other areas we need to do something about. I have personally encouraged all of us to go through the process, but we should also start with an audit of where we are, of what monies have been spent so far, and to see if we have spent these monies in a way that benefits the people of New York. We have to remember that the business of New York is business. And we do better with a business economy that is inclusive, that brings everyone in. You can argue what we should do with profit, but if there is no profit, you can't do any of these things. I'm also encouraging us to make sure that all New Yorkers have the right and the ability to benefit from the economic development that we do. I am reminded that Langston Hughes, and I will paraphrase him, he said, America must be America to everybody. And I'm saying that we have a chance here to ensure equality and justice in our great state and make sure that New York is New York to everyone. Thank you very much, chairs.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. Anyone else on the Senate side before we hand it over to Assemblymember Bronson? Senator Murray.
Very quickly, thank you, Chairman. Very good points brought up here today. And when we talk about the conference that we're in right now in economic development, it's about bringing business, but it's also about investing. You know, when we're talking about a state budget, we're not talking about just spending, we're talking about investing. Things like childcare that may not typically fall under this committee, but yet it does, because when we're talking about bringing businesses and helping them succeed, childcare is an important issue in getting people back into the workforce. Everyone benefits. So I think it's time, when we're putting this budget together, to step outside the box a little bit and think about some of these investments that will help economic development and in such will help New York State. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator Murray. Back to Assemblymember Bronson.
Thank you, Chair Ryan. I believe Assemblymember Chair Pretlow would like to say a few words.
No, that's just a use of racing parlance. So we're at the starting gate, and this is a long race, and we're going to get to the finish line hopefully in one piece. We have our work cut out for us. My area of expertise is fairly well established, and my only disappointment, this is like, I think we're leaving $1 billion on the table, but that's a discussion that we can have at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sturpey?
Well, I'd just like to say, if you're talking about investment, the Centers of Excellence and Centers of Advanced Technology are the two best investments we have in economic development. I still wonder why each year we struggle so much to increase their funding and actually cut their funding sometimes. And I think that's a tragic mistake we've made. I think we should be increasing the funding to these until they show us that they don't give us a 24-to-1 return on investment. There are no other economic development programs that do this, and I'm just happy that we've increased it this year in both the Senate and Assembly budgets. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Otis?
Thank you. I'll just make a couple of comments. First of all, for everyone at this table, there are some successes that everyone can be happy about. We have Micron coming to New York State. We have other high technology companies expanding New York State. So that's a good success story that we want to build on. Something that the Assembly has been a proponent of and is in our one-house budget is some of these small business grant programs that have been helpful in the past and will be helpful in the future. And in terms of ESD, Empire State Development, I want to put in a plug for their Connect All process, their Connect All office. And right now they are going around the state with regional meetings on digital inclusion, part of a submission to the federal government for 2024. That's an important process that we are behind. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other Assembly members who'd like to make brief comments? Mr. Gallahan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to speak on the small businesses in New York State. We have tens of thousands of pages of business regulations, and that's led to oppressive business climate here in our state, and prominent companies are leaving for more business-friendly states. The Tax Foundation in 2023 state tax climate ranks New York in 49th place. Chief Executive, 2022, best and worst states for business. New York ranks, again, 49th. 2022 Thumbtack Small Business Friendly Survey, New York got an overall friendliness grade of F. Speaking as a small businessman, I can tell you we passed a bill today in the Assembly that puts yet another sign in the window of small businesses. 10,700 small businesses would have to put another sign in the window. More regulations, more red tape. It happens every day. And we have to make it a business-friendly climate here in New York to draw businesses here, not have businesses exit our state. As a small business owner, I can attest to it, and it's frustrating at times, the hoops you have to jump through in order to do business with our state. I want to talk also about the U.S. Census data. It shows that New York is the largest decline in population between July 2021 and July 2022, falling by 180,000 people. New York lost 299,557 people to other states in out-migration. And the last thing I'd like to touch upon is Senator Borrello already spoke about it, but I'd just like to add something to the unemployment situation. Many of our small businesses rode it out during COVID. Never laid off one individual, kept the economy flowing, kept the products moving, kept health care going. All those employers are now required to pay tax to make up for the $8.2 billion deficit in our unemployment insurance benefits, and it's got to be changed. It's got to be addressed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think we're all set on this side.
So, Assembly Member, or Chair Bronson for closing.
Sure. First of all, I'd like to thank all the members of the subcommittee for being here and participating. I look forward to working with each and every one of you, working together on these important issues that impact economic development, but most importantly, that impacts our small businesses and our families who are workers at these businesses. I'm confident that the subcommittee will work well together. And in this process, I hope that we will enact a timely and most of all, a responsible budget for the families of New York State. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bronson, and thank you to everybody for coming. The Senate looks forward to working together with the Assembly and the Executive to get an on-time budget that serves the people of the state of New York. That concludes this meeting.